welcome to the Knowledge Pool, your source for everything regarding the rules of Magic the Gathering. Today we'll be covering some of the most unique type of abilities in Magic the Gathering, which are mana abilities. Let's go. Starting off, mana abilities are not a separate type of abilities in Magic the Gathering. They are part of activate abilities and triggered abilities, but are subject to some very important special rules which make them unique. For activate abilities to be considered mana abilities, they need to obey the following criteria. First, they must not have a target in order to be activated. Secondly, they must be able to add mana in a player's mana pool when that resolves, even that is 0 mana. And they are not loyalty abilities. In regards to rules explanation, they follow the same rules as activating another activate ability, but they have a few exceptions which make them more powerful. First, any player can activate a mana ability when they have priority, or when they are casting a spell activate ability that requires a mana payment, as we said on the spellcasting video, or when an effect asks for a mana payment, even if we are in the middle of casting or resolving a spell or ability. Secondly, the mana abilities don't use a stack and they cannot therefore be countered, targeted or otherwise responded to, and they resolve immediately. And thirdly, once we begin to activate a mana ability, we cannot activate the ability again until it has fully resolved. For triggered abilities to be considered mana abilities, they need to also follow some criteria, which are that they must not have a target, and the trigger must come from the activation or resolution of an activate mana ability, or from mana being added to a player's pool, and they have to have the possibility to be able to add mana to a player's pool when they resolve. Also, rules wise, they follow the rules for triggered abilities, except that they don't go to the stack and therefore they can be countered or responded to, and they resolve immediately after the mana ability that triggered them without waiting for the game to give priority to the player. Finally, some important notes here. Mana ability remains mana ability even if the game state does not allow it to produce mana anymore. For example, if we have a Serra Sanctum and there are no enchantments on the battlefield, it's still a mana ability even though the current game state does not allow it to add any mana to the pool. And also, if an ability has a target, it's in no way a mana ability, even if it could give mana to a player's mana pool when it resolves, for example, Deathrite Summer. Similarly, for triggered abilities, a triggered ability is not considered mana ability, even if it could produce mana, but it does not come directly from a trigger when we would activate a mana ability. So, for example, Omnath, the 4-color one, is second landfall effect is not a mana ability because it does not come directly from a mana ability being activated, and also an effect that would trigger even if mana is activated is not considered mana ability because it wouldn't produce mana, like Mana Web. It uses a stack as normal. And finally, a spell can never be a mana ability, even if all it does is put mana into a player's pool, like Seething Song. Be careful if you're playing with older cards, because some of them, like Dark Ritual, mention Mana Source, those have all been errated to instants and work like normal instants, which means we get the mana into our mana pool when they resolve. Now that we have explained what mana abilities are and how we can differentiate them and how they work, it's time to do a small quiz to see what we learned. Let's start. For the first part of the quiz is guess the activated mana ability. So we have the second ability of Valley Maker, the ability of Chromatic Sphere, the loyalty ability of Chandra, the ability of Selvala, and the first ability of Deathrite Summon. Which of them are mana abilities? The correct answer here is Valley Maker, Chromatic Sphere, and Selvala. Chandra is not a mana ability because it's a loyalty ability, and as we mentioned, loyalty abilities cannot be mana abilities. Deathrite Summon targets a land in a graveyard, so it's not a mana ability, it uses a stack and can be responded to. Valley Maker is an interesting one because it's a choose a player. So, since the ability adds mana and does not require a target, is a choice on resolution of the mana ability, it is considered mana ability. Chromatic Sphere, all it does is adds mana and draws us a card. We do not care how much the ability does, we care that it adds mana and doesn't have a target. So it's a mana ability, even though it does something else too. And for Selvala, it's one of the weirder cases because it could add mana and might also not add mana and also draws cards, but again, it does not target. And for activated abilities, we care if the ability had the possibility of adding mana to the mana pool. So since Selvala could theoretically add mana to the mana pool, it is an activated mana ability. For our second wish, we have guess a triggered mana ability. So which of the following are considered triggered mana abilities? We have Wild Growth, Altar of Shadows, Zendikar Resurgent, Birgi, God of Storytelling, and Mana Reflection. The answer here is Wild Growth and Zendikar Resurgent, since those come directly from a mana ability being activated, namely a land being tapped for mana. Altar of the Brood might be able to give us mana, but the triggers at the pre-combat may face, and so it's not coming directly from mana ability being activated. Birgi also triggers from casting a spell, which is not a mana ability being activated. And Mana Reflection was the tricky one. It's not even a trigger, it's a replacement effect, so it doesn't count as a triggered ability, even if it comes directly from us activating a mana ability. And for our final quiz, we have Arweave and mana abilities. So for this example, we have Lance of Diamond, Charm Pendant, Risty Cave, and Doubling Cube. Are any of these cards, or maybe all of them, mana abilities or not? The answer is that they are all mana abilities. So, Doubling Cube actually generates mana since it doubles the amount of its unspent mana we have. Note here for Doubling Cube that it doesn't copy restrictions, so let's say you had the mana of Cavern of Souls, naming Giant, the doubling of that mana would result in another mana, but we could use it, that extra mana, for whatever we want. And now Lion, Side Diamond, Charm Pendant, and Risty Cave are all mana abilities with restrictions, and that restriction means that they can only be activated as an instant. And the reason they did that for Pendant and Cave is because you might not get the mana you need. For Pendant, you don't know what you will mill off the top of your opponent's library. For Cave, someone might actually pay. And because they don't want you to go back for illegal casting, they made them only be castable as an instant, which means you cannot use them while paying for mana abilities while the spell is on the stack. Lions of Diamond is also kind of this, but the reason they did this is because you have to discard your hand, and so if you could actually use it as a mana ability with no time restriction, you could pull the spell on the stack and then activate Lions of Diamond, discarding the rest of your hand. Right now, as it is, you have to discard your hand to get the mana before trying to cast any spell. And those were mana abilities, one of the most unique type of abilities in all of Magic the Gathering, the foundation of the game. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, hope you learned something useful to use in a game with your friends or in a tournament, and I hope to see you again soon. Thanks for watching.